Hi, class. I'm reporting from an undisclosed location, but I will be discussing violations within the state of California. So, for our week 6 ethical violations and board discipline discussion, I'm going to be going over the first thing is the common reasons for a board to discipline a counselor. And my personal reaction. So, while I wasn't able to find the common reasons just within California alone, I was able to find common reasons overall. And some of those reasons were dual relationships, incompetence, and professional misrepresentation. The list was a little bit longer than that, honestly, but my reaction as I was looking at some of those was just kind of shock because I felt like there are a lot of codes out there to help counselors stay in line and prevent themselves from falling into these violations, especially with the 2014 ACA Code of Ethics as well. It's very thorough. So I was kind of shocked that the list was as long as it was. And some of the themes that I saw when I was looking at some of those reasons for boards to discipline counselors, I felt like one of the themes were lack of knowledge, and possibly even blatant disregard to the ethical codes because if you really take the time to understand and really see what they're talking about, it's easy to not be in violation a lot of these things. So I kind of felt like maybe they just weren't caring, or maybe they just didn't know or didn't get deep enough within the codes. So one of the cases that I looked up within California, and while it wasn't recent, it was a pretty popular case, and it was Ewing versus Goldstein. And the behavior that led to the discipline within that case was Goldstein, who was the counselor. It was failure to warn, and he was being sued for that, and he was being sued for failure to warn the now deceased, which was the client's current boyfriend, and he also failed to warn the proper authorities of the threats that he was made aware of by his client. So the ACA Code of Ethics that was violated with this case was in Section B.2.A, and it was serious and foreseeable harm and legal requirements. The general requirement that counselors keep information confidential doesn't apply when disclosure is required to protect clients or identify others from serious and foreseeable harm. The state code that was violated with this case, and that comes from the California Marriage and Family Therapist Code of Ethics, and that was in the section of informed consent and disclosure. 3.6, limits of confidentiality. Marriage and family therapists are encouraged to inform clients and patients of significant exceptions to confidentiality, such as child abuse reporting, elder and dependent adult abuse reporting, and clients and patients dangerous to themselves or to others. So the outcome that was from the Board of Discipline is that they chose to expand the duty to warn in California, and pretty much they expanded it because it was a little vague, and some of the court rulings kind of went back and forth within that case because it wasn't as detailed. And the counselor, he was claiming that he was not held liable due to the fact that he received the threat from a third party and not the client himself. So when the board expanded the duty to warn, they pretty much said that clients may damage or potentially damage patient privacy based on reports from parents as well, and not just the client themselves. And it also seemed like the counselor kept his license because I couldn't find anything stating that he lost his license. And so the ACA Code of Ethics, what it says about impairment is in section C.2.G under impairment is that counselors monitor themselves for signs of impairment from their own physical, mental, or emotional problems and refrain from offering or providing professional services when impaired. They seek assistance for problems that reach the level of professional impairment, and, if necessary, they limit, suspend, or terminate their professional responsibilities until it is determined that they may safely resume their work. Counselors assist colleagues or supervisors in recognizing their own professional impairment and provide consultation and assistance when warranted with colleagues or supervisors showing signs of impairment, and intervene as appropriate to prevent imminent harm to others. And the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists, that code of ethics states that for impairment under section 5-5, practicing while impaired, marriage and family therapists do not practice when their competence is impaired due to physical or psychological causes or to the use of alcohol or other substances. And finally, a question that comes to mind for me is just, how to stay current and abreast of all of these codes and laws, as I feel like they change, and we may not necessarily be aware as counselors when they change. So yeah, that would be my question. How do we just stay current and making sure that we are not getting ourselves in situations where we find ourselves violating these codes? Okay, thanks, class.